Number one, think of why you're doing this. Like, what is the point? Like, is it to make money, or is it to, help people emotionally or entertain people?
That was Dagogo Altraide, aka ColdFusion. Now, I've been waiting to do this episode for a long time. Not only because he's by far one of the biggest YouTubers on the platform with over 3 million subscribers today. I mean, even Mr. Beast follows him on Instagram. But also because I actually saw this happen pretty much in real time. You see, Dagogo and I go way back. We got introduced to each other through a mutual friend back at the time, and we would just hang out and jam and make music, uni days. And back then, Dagogo was pursuing a lucrative career in engineering, and with his then subscribers into a few good thousands, he was already thinking of moving full-time into YouTube, which I couldn't even comprehend back in those days. So in this episode, we talk about his career, how he built his YouTube empire, and a bit about his iconic voice. And we go in depth about YouTube monetization, building an audience, and how to pursue multiple interests within that same crowd. Now, if you're a regular listener of the audio version of the podcast, just know that I see you and I appreciate you a lot. It's incredible that even with my inconsistent releases throughout the lockdown and whatnot, you have kept up with the show, so thank you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe. It only takes a second for you, but it makes a lot of difference for me. I'm reaching that 1,000 mark soon, so every single subscriber helps. So thank you. And also sign up to my creative newsletter at www.tawsifakkas.com. So that's DAWSIFAKKAS.com. I send an occasional creative newsletter based on things that I come across on the internet, but also an update every now and then about my creative journey and just my overall thoughts about this life that we're trying to build around the world of creativity. Without further ado, here is The State of the Creators, Season 2, Episode 5, featuring Dagogo Altraide, aka ColdFusion. Hope you enjoy the show. This is The State of the Creators, a show about creative individuals who are on a quest to build something out of nothing. So just there for to tie stuff.
Right.
How are you, man?
I'm good. Are we starting?
The thing is, I don't have an intro.
Okay.
There's no specific intro because I feel it just gets very draggy. Okay. But it works out the other way sometimes because I talk too much to avoid the intro, and then that becomes draggy.
Okay. All right. Sure. Either way.
Good?
Either way. But yeah, I've been good, man. How about you?
You know how it is with the it's the usual answer with this year 2020. I've been really bad. I don't know how you're good. You're either lying or you've got some magic beans that you're not.
It is the magic beans. Yes,
it is the magic beans. So this specific episode. I'm actually already feeling quite, going through an inferiority complex. Not because you've got 2 million plus subscribers, but because of your damn voice.
No need for that.
How many comments on average do you get on your videos about your amazing voice?
I don't count, but there's at least 20. So yeah, it's a thing. Yeah,
I think it's taken like a world of its own where people are just listening to you. Sometimes they're not even paying attention to the stuff you're saying. Just want to hear a voice. Have you considered doing ASMR?
I've been asked that many times.
Really?
I have.
Oh wow.
But no. I don't know. Maybe in the future, like if the YouTube channel doesn't work out, I'll just go on to that.
It's interesting because you've got an English accent, which is also something that I've brought up, but you're not from England.
Yeah. So the thing is, the accent depends like on who you ask, like how they perceive it. So many Australians think that I have an Australian accent.
Oh, really?
But then many international people think I sound more English than Australian. So I don't know. But yeah, I think it is an Australian accent, but with a twinge of like a British accent. So that's how they kind of blend quite close together.
Yeah, it's interesting because so with me, obviously, I'm originally from Bangladesh, and we studied in certain mediums where, you know, like you speak certain accents and stuff like that. So our curriculum was all British, but I thought, you know, I've never picked up the British accent. I've picked up like a hybrid of British and American. But when I come here, people think I speak American English, and I've never been to America. So I totally get where the perception kind of changes. I think I've just got this weird hybrid of Bangladeshi, American, British, and now Australian. Yeah. It's just a hot pot of all these random...
I think that kind of thing will matter less and less in the future as people kind of move around.
Yeah, it's you know, that's one impact of globalization, I guess. Accents. So before anything else, I guess people who are not familiar with who Dagogo is. First of all, how do you say your last name? Altraide?
Altraide, yes.
Altraide. Okay.
Yes.
So how who is Dagogo Altraide, and what is ColdFusionTV?
Well, so me as a person, I guess I'm just a curious individual. So I do like to figure out in many different aspects of the world, like how things came to be and why things are the way they are. Essentially, that's my kind of driving goal for most things for most of my life.
Right.
And so I studied mechanical engineering, business and marketing, and all that kind of stuff at university, and did an engineering gig for a little while, but decided that it wasn't for me, and decided to focus on YouTube full time. So during my studies, I was doing YouTube just as a hobby and as for fun. And this was the ColdFusion YouTube channel, but in a different state to how it is today, because back then I was reviewing smartphones and just looking at maybe a little bit of behind the scenes of how companies were doing certain things, but not like today. But then over time, ColdFusion gradually turned into a channel that kind of takes a look at business, science, technology, and history, but in a way that is kind of infotainment, but like... You can think of it kind of like the Discovery Channel of old, but with a new twinge of newness. So that's
quite interesting way to define because you've been running this for what, around 10 years now?
Yeah. So properly since 2013, but in total 2009 is when the channel.
Okay, so roughly 11 years. That's pretty insane. And you just have about over 2 million now.
2.5. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's well done.
Thank you.
So it's interesting you bring up your early career where you used to be, you know, an engineer. So you used to study mechanical engineering in UW?
UW, yeah.
Oh, mate, like to get into UW in itself is an accomplishment. So well done on that. And then they've got 2 million. So I mean, you just first the voice, and then you've got I should just walk out of this interview.
No.
No, with it's interesting you bring that up because. And this is something I've asked all my other, from season 1 as well, and other guests as well, about parenting and, you know, like parents' expectations and family expectations around that. I assume you come from an immigrant family?
Yep, correct.
So what's the story around that?
Yeah, so my background is Nigerian. Okay. So both my parents are Nigerian, but my dad, he worked on the oil rigs, so as a mechanical engineer himself. And my mum was doing some stuff in the oil and gas industry as well as data entry and that kind of thing. So that's how they met. But so they traveled around the world and then came to finally settled in Australia. So for my parents, in terms of demands, my mum, she was a little more lax, but my dad was like, you have to do something that's you know, prestigious or whatever. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. So I knew I was interested in science and that kind of stuff as a very young kid. So he kind of saw that and said, maybe you'll be good at mechanical engineering because he did it himself. Yeah. So, decided to just do that. But in the end, it wasn't.
So obviously getting into the, UWA was a big thing. And then you mentioned you actually did a small gig right after that. And then I remember because we met around the same time you were trying to take this seriously. And I remember that was around 2011 or 12. We did the good old jamming sessions in that Waterford place. But I remember you talking about this YouTube channel that you had, and you had this gig. You even did this this viral thing. I remember on like you're looking for work. you suited up and you were in the city or something. Like, just random memories just keep coming back right now.
Yeah.
But I remember that period is when you decided to take that leap, right? How did, I guess, the expectations from parents impact your decision after, or more like how did you navigate through that? Because I can only imagine they weren't too happy to start off.
Yeah. It's very interesting, the arc that happened with that. So to begin with, like it was kind of like I had engineering in my head, but this channel that I was doing, I could see that the comments that I was receiving from people online were telling me that there was something here. There was something to pursue and something kind of special if I kept going. Because this was back in the day when YouTube comments were actually nice. So, people
social media comments. In general.
Yeah. So people gave encouragement, true, genuine encouragement. So I was like, well, look, maybe they're right. Like maybe this will be something if I keep going. But as for my dad, like, he didn't understand. He was kind of like, so what's going on? What are you doing? Kind of thing. Yeah. So it would take him until 2 years ago or so, when the channel got so big that people recognized my last name, because my dad now is a school teacher. So some of his students had seen the videos and then they're like, is that your son?
Oh,
because they saw the name and so then he noticed, oh, well, look, maybe it's growing and stuff. And then now he's totally fine with it. So, so it's only when it kind of got successful and big that he came around. So,
but initially, obviously, they weren't too happy.
Yeah, my mum was like seemingly okay with it. She wasn't, she was more supportive, I guess. My dad was kind of like, what are you doing?
What are you doing with life kind of thing? Especially throwing away an engineering gig. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So with that said, I think it's interesting because one of the things that I also brought up with my other guests is parents usually tend to come around when you've got something credible. Excuse me. When you've got a specific achievement with what you've started, pursuing or like a newspaper article. Speaking of which, you're also on the local news channel as well. How did that come about?
So that was that Channel 9 story. So it was through a company I was working with. So I was working for an electro-aerospace company. Yeah. Still kind of do a little bit of work with them now, but it's like electric aircraft essentially. Right. So they were in contact with Channel 9. They're like, oh, do you know anything interesting that's going on? They're like, oh yeah, like one guy that helps us do marketing, he's got this YouTube channel and you should have a look. And they were like, oh, okay. So they did and they loved it. So they came around to my place and kind of just did a piece on me and how I make videos and all that kind of stuff, which was interesting. But
it's funny because, I was speaking to you earlier about local creatives, right? And Perth obviously is people don't usually think of Perth when they think of Australia straight away. They think Sydney, Melbourne. Perth's usually like third or fourth or even fifth down the pecking order. But from that aspect, it's interesting that, because you are a global creator from that aspect, you've got like 2.5 million subs right now. You've got a big following worldwide, and yet not many people know you in Perth. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, because I don't really, the channel's not really about me. The focus is on the content, essentially. So, the fact that 2.5 million people have subscribed doesn't mean that I'm a good personality or that I'm some entertaining person. It just means that the content is good enough for people to want to know more about and subscribe to. So that's pretty much the goal. That I'm happy with that. So I don't, usually show myself in the videos at all. Essentially, it's just my voice, and that's kind of how people know of me.
Voice.
But I have been recognized around and about a few times. Just from the older videos that I've done that people have. So when someone does recognize me, I know they're like an OG subscriber. Right. So
from back in the days. So in that case, what would you call yourself? Would you be a YouTuber? Would you be a producer? Like how do you introduce yourself to at parties?
So YouTuber is a loaded word.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people think of Jake Paul vloggers and all that kind of thing, and that's not what I do. So,
really?
No.
Oh, what?
If you've been paying attention. No. So I would like to say, I am like I guess like in some aspects what I do is journalism. Right. In other aspects what I do is infotainment.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a content creator. I haven't really thought about that. I don't really know. What
So at parties, you're walking around.
I do sometimes say YouTuber.
YouTuber,
yeah.
Right. And then what's the usual reaction that you get? Like, do people immediately you can see the bit of scoffing in the or are they like interested in what you do?
Yeah. So okay. Usually it's kind of like, oh, so what kind of stuff do you make? Like, is it funny? Is it comedy? That's kind of the first thing.
Yeah.
And then, like, without a doubt, the next thing that comes up is like, how do you make money?
Right.
Like, what's the...
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah. No, but like, literally the mechanisms of how it works. They're just curious.
Yeah.
Without fail, those are probably the two things that come up.
So why did you decide to do specifically tech-related videos to start off with?
Because that's where my passion kind of lay.
Right.
So I guess for me, one of the biggest videos of the early trajectory that set me off on that path was a video about Google, just called How Big is Google? Because for me, like, even without doing the YouTube channel, just in my own time, I'd just research about these companies and then how they started and the people behind them and all of this kind of thing, and their life story and what made them tick and what made them decide to do the things that they did.
Yeah.
And then in doing this, just out of what I like to do, I kept seeing that there were these little morsels of just really cool stories that I hadn't heard anywhere else before and that no one was telling. So I thought, I can tell these. So it just happened to be the stuff that I was looking at and researching at the time that kind of just turned into a video and I made. So
right. But you didn't start off doing tech videos.
I did start off as in
like you did reviews and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're talking about just the reviews of phones and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't so much, there were some reviews, but I guess the main thing, if I'm being technically correct, would be kind of modifications to Android phones. Right. So I basically downloaded a whole bunch of apps and made them into a way that transformed the look of your phone. So if you looked at it, you wouldn't think, it wouldn't look like anything else on the market, essentially. Right. And so these were all apps that you could buy or like download, but I put them in a combination that kind of, it's hard to describe, but basically like it was a 3D user interface. So like you'd swipe to the next screen and the background would flip and then like it would look all 3D and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I tried to do it tastefully anyway. But then so I ended up turning that into an app and kind of sold that. Well, first I made tutorials and then people were like, can't this just be all on one app so you can just make it more easily? So then I teamed up with a guy in the UK who was a coder and we kind of made the app, but that didn't really pan out because I don't want to say anything on this podcast, but there was some internal struggles with that. But yes, it was kind of just me interested in that kind of stuff and mucking around with it, and I'm like, oh, some people online might like to see this, and didn't really think of it and posted it, and it did really well and went on forums and everything, and people were writing about this thing, and I was like, okay, so this could work, and kept doing it, and
just snowballed from there.
So that was the very initial starts.
How much of your YouTube journey was really planned? Because right now, you say if you want to start a YouTube channel, generally there's lots of advice, right? Like you have to post between 11:15 p.m. to 11:27 p.m. You have to like measure the lunar movement and all that kind of stuff and make sure that it's at the right time. So obviously with OG YouTubers, it doesn't usually seem to be the case. How has it been different for you? If not, like how?
I didn't care about any of that stuff.
Right.
Literally for me, it was just, I think this is cool, and I think other people will think it's cool.
Right.
And then,
do you think that same technique could work today? If in 2020 Dagogo decided to start off his YouTube journey, do you think that would work today?
So I've seen channels go from nothing to like 300,000 pretty quickly, but
now today,
wow. But the thing is, those channels, they have something truly unique. And they already seem to be at a bar which is kind of high. So it's a weird thing how like, it's almost like they they were doing something else before and kind of just went into YouTube, but we didn't see them before that. They seem to already have some kind of level.
So they would bring their previous audience from somewhere else, and
no, more like their previous skills. It seems like. So I don't know their backstory and everything, but I've seen that kind of thing happen. So I think it's more rare today and harder because back when I was starting, YouTube was the Wild West, and anyone with some cool ideas could get some traction. But now, like, a lot of things have been seen. People kind of are now copying each other, and there's a lot of noise, and it's just
right. So to an extent, those specific steps could actually help you down the line.
As in the lunar cycle and the
yes.
So as in if you started them early back then, could
no,
they help?
Not now.
Oh, the thing is, but I just don't know to what degree.
Right.
I couldn't tell you.
So to an extent, it's still a little bit Wild West-ish, but with a lot more players.
It is, but then like even I was telling you before the show, like even with the algorithm and stuff, there's just this weird things going on.
Yeah.
Like I got hit recently, so I'm the last person to ask pretty much. I don't know how much those things could help, but I guess being consistent, that's probably a good thing. Like you can't upload once every week for like 3 weeks and then not in like 6 months or something. So being consistent, I guess that's a staple of probably anything you need to do. Consistent posting and consistent quality, I guess. But like as far as times go and these little things, I don't think it really matters that much.
Fair enough. With your other avenues, I want to touch base on that as well, because we met, like I mentioned, through jamming in that little place.
Mm-hmm.
You used to play the guitar. Our good friend Prash, I think, also used to play the bass.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a few others, just jamming around, and that's when then we met you. So, but you've still continued making music.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that creative side of things. So juggling between this more technical angle where you're researching, you're doing videos and things like that, but also having this creative angle that you feel that you need to fulfill. How have you been balancing that? And
so for me, that's a great question, because as I'm thinking about it, there are some very structural similarities between creating music and making a video. So for me, when I'm making a video, so there's the research side, and then there's the technical side, and then script writing side, and structuring side, and that front. But then when it comes to the visual elements of actually creating that video and building the elements on top of each other, that's kind of similar to how you make music within some audio software. So it's kind of like the way I describe it. So for the music side is you have this ice sculpture, right? You don't know what's going to go where, and you kind of chip away at it until you come away with this thing that's like finely tuned and what you want it to be. Yeah. But it's a process of like of not really knowing where you're going. You might have a vague idea, but then along the way you kind of chip away and find what works and what's sounding good and where you think things should go. But I'd say if I wasn't making YouTube videos, I would be doing music. That's like my passion, essentially. Like, so if you guys do want to check it out, check out Burn Water. That's my artist name. But I'm releasing another EP now. I'm writing some stuff. And playing with some more kind of flowy, loopy, as in like a audio loop kind of
loopy
and loopy audio loop kind of concepts. So
because it's very ambient, isn't it? Like your music that I've heard with Burn Water, it's quite ambient, quite ethereal, and so post rock kind of elements.
Because I was a fan of post rock before I got into electronic, so it does have that grand movement. But like over the long term of me making this, I realized the strange thing that the actual overall style of how the music is made is actually trance. Like it is trance, but like, it could be R&B beats and like vocals and stuff, but it has that progression and build up of a trance.
And it's interesting because I think only a couple months back you did like the ColdFusion playlist or something within the channel, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember it did not get as many views. It was like around 70 something views compared to your usual like the numbers that you get. And I remember seeing some comments as well, like people were getting confused, like what is this doing here, kind of thing. Or some people liked it. I think there were some mixed comments as well about the music. That's not what I'm here for, as you mentioned with the comments.
Yeah,
you get quite a variety these days. What was your thinking behind posting that on the ColdFusion channel? Because obviously with ColdFusionTV, it's mostly over the recent years has been a specific, documentary style tech videos. How has posting there been a decision from you, and what have you learned from it? Like, has it helped?
Yeah. So for me, like, not many people know this, but like every year I'd release like a mix on the channel, but I guess as it grew, people just didn't know that. So like it got weirder and weirder as it went on. So yeah, like I have decided that I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to actually create another Burnwater music channel to just upload all the stuff on there. So I guess like people overall did like it, but then there were some that just didn't understand why there was a music mix in the middle of the channel. So
So you're not gonna continue posting it?
Yeah, I don't. Even though like some of the songs I really like now, but no, I don't think so.
Have you been able to transfer any of your existing ColdFusionTV audience to your Burnwater? Like, have you been able to convert anyone from there?
Yeah, so like usually, like in most videos, I have at least one or two of my songs in there. So if people read the description, they can they're like, oh, what's that song, and then they can Google it. So yeah, like my stuff, a lot of my latest stuff isn't even on Spotify or anything, like, because yet another disaster happened with another holding company. So so yeah, like they go to Bandcamp usually to listen to that.
So you have been able to convert. Has that been a difficult thing? Like, do you do it actively other than what you mentioned, or
no? It's literally organic? If people want to, they can listen to it.
And then has anyone kind of come to you about it? Like, okay, like when you're releasing the next thing, okay, so you've actually built like a good sticky audience through, but maybe not as big as
and I wouldn't be able to like quantify or like say how many people would be listening, but so but I have people asking like, can I use this song in this thing that I'm making, or when's the next EP coming out? Or
so with my podcast series, it's generally I have this overarching topic, and then I try to match it up with a creator in mind, in this case you. Generally with the whole idea of the podcast is to help creators who wants to walk down your path or wants to do certain creative things, and get a lot of value out of these conversations that I have with other creators. With your case, what I've noticed is through this prolonged period of almost a decade now, you have chosen to start posting, you've chosen to post more on a qualitative basis as opposed to a high level of quantity. So you've always kind of seen, like the level of production, the research and everything. There is a lot of deep level, not just surface level elements to it. So why has that been a decision for you in terms of posting just quality elements to it? And feel free to go deep into this answer as well, because today in today's world, like you mentioned, posting more means you're more relevant, and posting more also means that you're kind of cutting through the noise. But with your work, you've always been not as frequent, and yet you've been able to build an audience. So I want you to kind of dig deep into that mentality.
Well, I think when you're talking about deeper research and that kind of thing, it goes back to my fundamental reason for doing this and the curiosity behind it. So it's like when I'm researching a story, and then there's something that I find, and then I have to ask myself the question, like, well, why did that happen? And then you go down a bit further, and then by the end, when you keep doing that, you end up with like little bits of information that you didn't hear anywhere else, and that the audience isn't going to hear anywhere else, and that really kind of gives them value to come back to you, because you're saying something unique that they couldn't just go to another place and find easily. Maybe it does exist, but it's not easily found, those little pieces of knowledge. And also as I create, like I kind of have to put my mindset, like split my head into like 10 different people. So like, how is the person who's just going to come on this video not knowing who I am and just going to flick through, how they're going to think? How's the person that's been a long time subscriber that knows that I go deeply going to think about this video? And then how's, someone who's not that interested in this topic going to feel? And it's kind of like, you have to kind of make sure that each of those different slices will like come to the place where each of those different slices can be like at least satisfied without compromising too much, So it's that usually comes from higher quality, essentially. So, if it's the way that the presentation goes, where how it looks, the pace of how I'm speaking, or how things are cut, and how fast things move, or what sections I decide to put first, and where I arrange things. So, like, essentially, there's a lot to it, but it comes,
So what is quality to you? And it doesn't have to be specific to your video. Like, you could start off answering like, quality to me in my video is this and this, but also in general, like when you look at other, content creators or listen to other music, generally what is quality to you?
For me, I think quality is care and thought from the person making it to the person listening or watching. Because like, when something has a lot of thought put into it, and the person cares about what they're making, it's going to be higher quality. But right. so it's going to be, it's going to be something that they're going to be proud of, and it's going to be something when someone listens to that, they can perceive, or like listens or watches they can perceive that. They can perceive that, oh, this person has put some thought into it, and that there's been care taken here. So. I guess that's not the normal definition, but
no, I think that's a very fair definition. So, and it ties up with your earlier answer about building stuff for your audience, because you put audience in mind first, and you're kind of working backwards. So you're thinking these are the type of audience who generally watch my videos, and therefore, if I can put enough care and thought about what they require and what they look for in information and entertainment. That is what I'm going to deliver, and therefore that's the quality. But I'm going to kind of take that answer and put you in another spot, in the sense that you mentioned Jake Paul, right? Generally, Jake Paul isn't considered like a quality YouTuber. However, if he, the videos that he does, like prank videos and stuff, there is an audience for that. 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, whoever. And if he's thinking about that, if I act like a complete dumbass, my 12-year-old fans will actually connect to it. Does that then also become quality work for you?
No, it doesn't, because I guess an added thing would be what overall, like what value does this bring to the end user as well? Right. So, I guess in the subset, you could say for dumb 12-year-old prank videos, it could be quality, but in the wider scope of things, is it quality?
Right.
And I'd say no. It doesn't really.
Bring
a 12-year-old isn't going to look at that and be like, oh, okay, now I understand like why it's important to study and do hard work. It's like, it's just,
right. So essentially, it has to have some level of, I guess, long-term value as well for it to be considered quality in your books. Yeah. Fair enough. I think that's a very well-rounded answer. With your videos as well, part of the quality, part of the thing that brings that much quality is the research that you put into each video. Obviously, it's hard to get everything right all the time, but you still put in a lot of effort. What is the research process for your videos, and how do you go about that?
Well, it depends on like the length of video and how big the task is to complete, because some videos, which if it's just a quick news, for example, I'm working on a video now on Elon Musk Neuralink. Essentially, he just had an update a few days ago
with the whole pig chip,
putting it in the pigs and whatnot, and with that video, like, so this is going to touch on a few things, because if I was just thinking, okay, I'll do a recap of like what that presentation was, because I've already done a Neuralink video that covered the whole thing, talked about the technical details and whatnot. But then I was like, I'm not sure if that's really going to be that valuable to people, because they can just go and watch that. So essentially what I did was I did some digging and found, I was just thinking about like Neuralink as a company and, what's actually going on here, and like how would it be to function. And then I came across like some really good articles from ex-employees that were talking about how the work culture was like, and how it was hard to balance like such a fast-moving, high-tech company mandate with something that's as slow and as methodical and as painstakingly hard to get through as scientific research. So like those two things together made a lot of friction within the company. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So it was kind of like talking about, a bit about the update, but then also what's been going on in company walls and the things that they have to kind of overcome, and then like what does that look like in the future, and then that kind of thing makes a much more valuable and interesting video than what it would have been.
Just surface level.
Yeah. So in terms of the research process, so like something like that, the first surface level attempt that I was going to do at that would be quite quick, because it's like all the information is kind of there. You do some extra research about like maybe what some people in the industry in neuroscience are thinking about this, and other things, but it's mostly there. But then if you're looking at something, say like for example, I was going to mention something to do with an SEC complaint, but maybe not. but something bigger, so like a massive fraud story or something.
Yeah.
There's lots to cover in terms of background information, reading, and different sides of the argument even, and maybe they'll just this person committing this fraud was just like misunderstood or something. Right. Like you have to take that all into consideration, and that can take like a lot longer.
So you don't just jump into conclusions like that's that's just impossible.
Yeah, like because there's two sides to every story, and like you may think you're one person, you may think you have the right conclusion, but with anything, like if you're even talking to someone that you hate and disagree with, you must always see things from their point of view and try and walk back and see if you can come to your own conclusion again. But along that journey, you learn a lot of things, and you see what kind of angle they're coming from as well. So I think it's important to have that within.
Yeah, and you used to do all your research until recently, isn't it?
Yeah. Until 2019. Then I got like a team of a few different experts in different fields to help out.
Awesome. So now you work in kind of like a small team where, and then how does that work? Like, do you separate like different articles or things like that, or do you do the research together? How what's the process?
Yeah.
Like
So say if it's a financial video, then I'll be like, this is what I'm thinking of doing. I've got a couple of guys who worked in futures trading, and one's a investment banker kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm thinking of doing a video on finance. Like this is the outline of the thinking, and like I've got a few ideas and everything, and then kind of we talk over it and then go through a few iterations and then that kind of thing. And then after a while we kind of just come out with a script. So it's the same with like. And
did you read the script as well, or do you have someone else write the script?
So most of the time I write the script. I'd say it's about 70%. So I do have a script writer who helps out as well, and that's been really helpful. So. So the work is now not as much, just on me now. So
okay, brilliant. Yeah. That's I guess the beauty of growth. It gives you that capability. So, with research as well. I mean, obviously now I have a team, but prior to that, I remember going into uni and when doing essays or big assignments and things like that, you'd have to have like a big backlog of journals and academic research essentially to back your piece. How much of that has helped, I guess, in your pursuit of finding specific truths or specific angles for your videos? Do you think that's had a big part to play, or was it more of like, this is always the way I've looked at things?
Well, yeah, like if you're just finding I don't want to put anyone under the bus, but say some like futurism article or something about something. And then it's kind of like you can't just take that at face value and be like, that's the way it is. Like you kind of have to look at what experts have to say about that same very phenomena or thing. And often what you'll find is like it's half true, but it's not quite what it's been shown to be, or it's been spun in a way that looks more like headline grabbing than it is. Yeah. I guess during university you kind of do learn to think critically and to really investigate things like that.
And this is something I'm quite passionate about, is in the sense that finding out specific ways through which you can discern the misinformation from the truth. And with the social media age right now, and especially is what we've seen with the coronavirus, and even now, it's crazy to see the amount of misinformation. And even going back, to my country in Bangladesh, where the internet age is just about, it's very amateur level, where people are just getting internet connections over the last 5-6 years. The amount of misinformation is ridiculous, right? I know Facebook and YouTube and everyone's trying to fight it to an extent, but then they come under attack for blocking free speech and things like that. How do you think we can get out of this big mess going forward, in terms of like does it fall under the specific individual for research capabilities? If so, how can we teach them? What are your thoughts around that?
Let's take the coronavirus for example. So with that, you have this issue which no one knows about, as in no one is an expert on because it's so new. There's so much misinformation going out. There's so many points of data that you could get. Yeah. So for me, this is just the example of how I kind of tackled this to kind of understand and figure out what was going on. So social media can be great. It can be a very powerful tool, or it can lead you completely astray. So what I do is I kind of get funnels of aggregators. So I have people that are that I follow on YouTube that are literally practicing medical doctors that are specialized in this field, and they're gathering all the research from the research papers and all of this kind of stuff. I have a few of those, and then I listen to all of what they say. And then the things that line up and they all agree on, that has a high probability of being true. Right. So it's you cut out the time, but you also find high quality information as well. Some of it could be wrong, but it's these are the guys who are practicing, and there's multiple different sources of these. So it's kind of it's very powerful if you know how to kind of use all of those channels. I think it does fall on the individual, but you just got to know how to navigate. So,
right. So how do you then bring that to the individuals? Because, for example, you say about, you go through medical experts and stuff, but in a lot of these cases, people wouldn't even they wouldn't even consider a specific person as a medical expert if it doesn't align with the worldview that they have, right? So, for example, Anthony Fauci, he has been, he's been the devil for so many people because even though he's an expert to an extent, definitely considered as an expert.
Sorry, so I should clarify. So it's not say a medical expert that's just known in the public sphere or something. Of course, yep. But these are people who happen to be making YouTube videos. Right. So they are medical experts, but they're also disseminating information as well. Right. So it's that kind of person is what I'm talking about.
Right. But even then, I guess, from the perspective of an individual, the people who are the naysayers of the coronavirus in this instance, they are discarding, medical experts' opinions, saying that either they're paid by this is where the conspiracy theory kind of creeps in, and you've got whole Bill Gates trying to kill everyone with vaccines and stuff like that, even though, there's literal proof of Bill Gates trying to help the world with malaria and things like that. So how do you then tackle these things from your perspective in I guess teaching people how to research better?
So for this example, it depends on where your threshold is. If you're thinking that all medical experts are just wrong, then that's hard. Yeah. But if you're thinking, this one guy might be paid by whatever, then that's why you have multiple, and you kind of line them up to kind of get rid of any of that issue. So say you have 5 different ones, and then some of the stuff that they're all saying is the same, then it's probably true. But if you're just gonna say all medical experts have no idea what they're talking about, and drinking bee honey mixed with pepper is gonna solve the issue, then there's not much you can do.
So essentially you're saying there's no hope.
Yeah, man. For the world. How many people are you saying are like that?
I don't know. There's a fair few.
But I think they've been radicalized in the wrong direction. If that's the case, because the people on Facebook, when they have arguments, because they have a little number of likes below their what they've said, and that number may be high. We some people kind of orientate that as being correct, and then it's you kind of have whoever shouts the loudest and gets the most likes is who people are going to believe. So you've got a lot of that going on, and people kind of just swayed and don't have anything else to weigh it up against, then they might, fall down that way and kind of be radicalized towards wrong information. But it's on them. They they can't just read something and be like, that's it. That's how it is.
With big tech trying to tackle this, again, like I mentioned, they have been told, like they've been accused of crippling free speech and things like that. What's your stance on that?
I'm this is a very tough one, because I think that, once they start trying to take away, wrong information, whatever, it kind of makes them
slope.
Yeah, they are becoming the arbiters of truth. Like they may say this is false or whatever, but who at a tech company is able to
verify that information?
Yeah, like say if it is a medical issue, like how are they? Like say if it's some news, like slightly controversial study about something where they verify it as false, but like there's plenty of things saying it is true. Like. Yeah. These guys are a tech company and there's some medical experts. So it's not as clear as that. Yeah. And that, that obviously can apply to a lot of things. So I think as much as bad as it sucks, I reckon they should just leave everything up. Like,
wow, okay. Interesting.
I do. So maybe there could be some kind of, as they do have now, like a message saying that this is highly contested, etc.
I doubt anyone reads that these days. Like, I guess in terms of the people who are naysayers anyway.
Well, no, because I recently saw this on Facebook. There was this guy who posted a picture of this these masks or whatever, and then highlighted saying, like on the packaging saying something or other. And basically he was saying that, these masks are useless, why they're making us wear them, etc. Right. But then his post was blurred out. And it just had like, this is false, this information is partly false. And then it's kind of like, well, yeah, if it's going to be, that has an impact. It's like, you kind of have to think about that a bit more. So
exactly.
I think that's all right, but completely removing it, I think that's
right. Okay. I think that's a fair stance. Yeah. They did that with Trump as well on Twitter, where they started adding information around his tweet. But then obviously you've had people talking about like, why haven't they done with others? So it does get quite interesting political, and that's the thing. Everything's just political. Even I guess like have any of your videos been down that path?
Yeah.
In terms of being labeled as political or having an agenda and things like that.
Yeah. Like one time I did a video on Google and the CIA, some people said I was a Chinese communist. So there's been some. I try not to. I try to just like
be very objective around that. One of my favorite videos is the We Work one. Man, I just loved how you dug deep into
Adam Newman.
Yes, Adam Newman. That guy's a character and a half, man. But it's interesting. I bring that up because obviously you research a lot of these tech moguls and the people who run them. Have you been seeing a pattern of little bit of, in some time, sometimes not little, a lot of madness into the genius, if they can be called geniuses? Like, have you been seeing any patterns like that?
Well, yeah, like it seems like there's, that these guys can talk the way. Like, I don't know if you're talking about like the frauds or the good guys. I don't know which one.
I'm kind of putting them on the same pedestal in the sense that, like the CEOs of the big tech companies, like Adam and Mark and Elon Musk and things like that.
So I think, they have to have a little bit, lower levels of empathy and a bit higher sociopathic tendencies to make. That's honestly just how it is to rise up through like a company and destroy competitors and that kind of thing. You have not to care about people, right? As much as like. Is someone like, would cry every time they thought they talked to someone rudely? They're not going to get anywhere. Like,
I mean, as shitty as it sounds, you need to have that little bit of sociopathic tendencies you mentioned. Yeah.
So that is unfortunately a trait that is there, but. Also, these guys worked hard, and also there was a component of luck as well. Just being there at the right time. Of course. When this, and that they had the vision to see, okay, so this is probably what's going to happen. Yeah. And
there's a good Veritasium video that came out just last week. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw the thumbnail, haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's really good. It literally talks about how having luck has and how some people get defensive. It's a really, really good video. He's Aussie as well.
But he lives in the US, doesn't he?
Oh, does he? I thought he lives in Sydney.
Does he? Okay. I don't know.
Oh, no. He does, because he makes trips to Australia. But I think he's originally from
from
his
Sydney.
accent.
So, yeah.
Yeah. He would be a good person to speak to.
Yeah.
Who knows?
just call him out, man.
What has been your biggest failure so far, if any, and any learning from that failure?
Well, I think pretty much every time I've kind of tried to branch out to something more and rely on other people, there's been a catastrophic failure. So I think, just choosing better partners, I think would be what I have an issue with.
Right.
Because when I tried to, have my music, a label approached me. I was like, hey, do you want to get your music out to other platforms and everything? And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds good. So they published it on like iTunes, Spotify, and all of that. And then the company went dark. I couldn't contact anyone. Wow. It turns out they went bankrupt and folded up, and it was overseas, so I couldn't do anything. And I was like, so they're still making the revenue from that, and I can't. Anyway,
do anything about it.
Yeah, so that was number one, and then my podcast, there was an issue with that, which I can't legally talk about too much, but yes, that ended up falling through in a way. And even my book that I released, you
released a book as well. Yeah,
so that was very close to just because there's a lot of things where they initially said yes, and then it kind of they're like no. So one, I didn't have they kind of didn't give me enough time to really. I had to push for extensions to because it was going to be done in less than a year. That's what they wanted. But then aside from that, I wanted to have a unique book with a really cool idea. And a patent this, so don't do it. But essentially, the book was supposed to have because it's about the history of technology and the inventors who invented what, from the iPhone to first PCs to quantum physics and all this kind of stuff, and the steam engine, all the way through history. And then with each thing that you were reading about, there's supposed to be a QR code where you could go to a corresponding video on YouTube or an image or something. So it was interactive, and you could see what was going on. So if you wanted to have a look at the first photo ever, you could look at that and all that kind of thing. And they're like, yeah, that sounds like a really cool novel idea. And then a few weeks before publishing, they're like, oh, sorry, we can't. I don't think the ink dot matrix is going to be precise enough to get that going. And I was like, that's not true. I'm pretty sure you can do that.
That doesn't make sense.
And then so that was kind of disappointing. And then the marketing, that was non-existent. They were supposed to do marketing for that, and then also the editing process for that. I had to go through and do a lot of the stuff that they missed. They didn't do it properly, so it was a lot of extra. I kind of had to do it myself. So it's kind of every time I partner, it's just. Don't know if I should have said all that, but anyway, every time I partner, makes sense. There's something that goes wrong. So I think I just got to pick better partners.
Right. What has been, I guess, throughout your career, have you ever decided that I don't want to do this anymore? Or do you get that often, if at all?
Yeah, I do get that sometimes, and even not long ago, during this recent algorithm change or whatever the hell happened, where YouTube isn't sending out my videos to subscribers. It's kind of getting all these people saying, "Oh, you haven't released a video in a while. Where are you?" I got notifications turned on, I can't see anything, and it's I am putting in all of this effort, I normally am, but people just can't see it. So it's kind of what's the point?
Yeah.
But then you kind of think to yourself, would I be rather being in an office chair at an engineering company, looking at some spreadsheets and making phone calls, and it's no. So
it's still better.
Yeah, so I kind of have to keep that in mind.
I guess that's the power YouTube has over, or other platforms have over creators, in the sense that even at their worst, you'd still be rather doing this.
Yeah, exactly. So it has happened. There was also a time when I was still doing smartphone reviews.
Yeah.
This was back in 2013 or 2012. I was looking, I put so much effort into them, even with the filming and everything that I do, and it was all a production kind of thing. And I'd talk about little bits of history before I got into the smartphone thing. So it was it was different to what everyone else was doing at the time. Put in so much effort, and then I'd get 0 views, and then this guy would go and have like 2 smartphones and be like, oh, look at them, and then get like 100,000 views. And then like I just was like, this kept happening. And then I remember saying to my sister at the time, like, I feel like just giving up. Like, what's the point of putting all this effort in and no one's bothering to watch? And I was like, maybe I just suck. Maybe I should just stop. Yeah. And then she told me, like, I remember she sat me down. She's like, like, listen to the people that are like encouraging you to go on. Like, you don't know where this will take you, and I think you got something there, and you should just keep going with it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, you're right. But then, she ended up being right. And I think if she didn't talk to me, I may not have been continuing.
So a bit of intervention there.
Yeah.
With the production stuff that you mentioned, you're comparing yourself with another YouTuber, but has it ever happened in terms of your own work where you put minimal effort in something and that's just unexpectedly blew up, and compared to something you put in like months and years of work, and has it happened to you?
I wouldn't say like minimal effort, but like
comparatively.
Yeah. It's nowhere near as much. Yeah, that happens. Like,
like what's your takeaway from that usually?
I couldn't tell you. It is bizarre. Like, yeah.
Because with all the other creatives I've spoken to, they've all mentioned this one thing, like whether they're creating content or music or films or anything like that. They'll always, even in my case as well, when I create stuff, sometimes I put like months and months of effort on something, and it just will, it's not gonna pick up compared to something that I'll just unexpectedly. So I think it's an interesting kind of dynamic.
I have no idea with videos, but I guess with music, sometimes when you're putting something together, like, and it just starts sounding good, like it can come together really quickly, and then people love it because it just was easily put together. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I can understand how it happens with music, but with video, I have no idea.
Fair. Anyone in particular you look up to? In terms of your line of work or in general?
I'd say like the number one guy I look up to would probably be Lemino. Number one.
Yep. Oh, he's really good. His videos are brilliant.
Really, really good. Also, Vsauce. Oh, Vsauce, like
OG.
he he was the guy that was just doing this before
everyone else.
Yeah, he really had it. I'd say those two, like specifically to what I'm doing, but there's like other channels where I just admire, so like.
Anyone in particular you think is killing it right now on YouTube?
So I like Real Engineering, who subscribed to me recently today. So that
cool.
No, but is a cool guy, and he does really good videos. Also Mustard, so they make kind of aircraft history videos. Their 3D animation is insane and really good. And of course, I cannot forget Captain Disillusion.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard of him, but his work and the amount of stuff he puts in is just.
Is this the guy who has like the painting and stuff on him?
Yes, it's almost like a superhero, like a B-roll superhero character. But I was watching him like from like 6 or 7 years ago, and I was like, why does this guy not have more? Like, now he's blowing up and everyone knows it. So I'm really happy about that. He deserves
consistency.
It. He really deserves it. So
cool.
Yeah, there's a few guys I look up to.
And outside of YouTube, is there anything you follow?
Outside of YouTube,
like is there anything you look up to in terms of?
Oh well, in music production, so there's an artist called Balam Akab. I think it means child death, actually, in some African nation language. But his music is very unique in the way that it's made. It was one of the first artists that got me into electronic music, properly, like this new wave of electronic music. I was just like, how is he doing this?
Right. Like, it's just one person.
Yeah. But it's just like, crazy good. And there's a few others, but I don't want to bore you. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll be blunt. How much money do you make off YouTube?
$0.00.
Brilliant. In terms of, I guess, YouTube money in general, how do you go about that? Like, obviously, you've built a career where you solely rely on income coming from your videos. What's that journey, and if someone were to do that, what is it that what are maybe not steps in per se, but what are some of the things that you think are must-haves to ensure that you can at least build towards having a full-time YouTube or video making or media production career?
I think nowadays, like it depends less on ad revenue and more on sponsorships.
Yep.
So I guess if you can find people, so I don't do sponsorships that often, but I guess like if you can find a sponsorship that really like you believe and you use and it actually goes in well with the video that you're making, I think it's kind of a win-win. But in terms, look, it's consistency and posting good quality content as much as you can. Maybe utilize some networking effects, if you want to collaborate with someone that you think is close to what you're doing. It's kind of basic stuff, but yeah.
What's the biggest sponsorship deal that you've done?
I guess it hasn't been done yet.
Okay.
But it will be soon. I just signed the contract. So with Huawei.
Oh wow! Well done. Congrats.
So that's probably the biggest. But then. I don't want to say anything else. But so probably Huawei.
Okay. With your, I guess, and it doesn't have to be your numbers, but with your, say, someone who's got like 1 million subs or maybe 500K subs, how much money do you think they can bring in through sponsorships?
Well, I think you can easily, if you're getting like good views consistently, I reckon like you can. If you have a sponsorship per every video, you can probably do $5,000 US
per sponsorship.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I reckon you could do that
with around like 500K subs. Or well, you're talking about views, isn't it? So how many views per video you reckon?
Yeah. So like, if you want to be doing that, you'll probably be in the 400 to 500K per video kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And with sponsorships, I guess now you're big enough where they're coming to you. But prior to that, how do you go about reaching to them?
Never did.
I
didn't care. I was just like, make the videos and that's
flex.
it.
That's weird flex, but okay.
No, like honestly, I don't really care about the monetary side too much. But
No, I think the difference being is you're not in it for the money. However, when you're trying to build something on a full-time level, you need to at least pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's where my line of questioning is going towards, because with a lot of creatives, even with myself, for example, I do a lot of consultancy work I love doing that stuff, but at the same time, I would love to create, like, what if this podcast just paid off all my bills? That would be awesome kind of thing. So I think that's kind of the angle where a lot of creatives struggle, in the sense that when they make that transition from, I guess, part-time or hobby to a full-time, they don't know like where to go ahead with these things. So I think it's cool that because you've built a consistent following, consistent views and things of that sort, people, I guess, will ultimately be attracted towards you, and you don't have to go about.
Yeah, except I think starting this year, I do want to, with the help of the right partnership, start branching outside of YouTube and because it is pretty risky to just have everything in there.
Oh man, it's as I was telling you, it's you just never know, and I've seen that with a few other, even with TikTok, for example.
I was going to say, TikTok's a perfect example.
Yeah, and you would have seen a lot of the big TikTok stars, with big numbers. They've already started diversifying their social platforms. Like, a lot of them actually come to YouTube. There's a few who are going towards specific Instagram, IGTV, and obviously email subscribers as well, where they can start communicating. So that happened with Vine initially.
Well,
Jake Paul, the Vine days.
Yeah, Jake Paul came from Vine.
Yeah, so. both Paul brothers, and also I think a few other big names. But they were more into that entertainment, comedy-esque kind of stuff. Going towards the end of the episode, so what do you think is the future of alternative media / and I want to call them alternative media in the sense of YouTube being one of them. Where do you think that the future of that lies?
I think there'll be a war, essentially, between traditional media and alternative media. Okay. I guess we're already seeing it, like here in Australia, where traditional media wants to hold YouTube hostage and make stupid demands and try and get more money out of the company. But I just think like traditional media, like no one under 40 really no one under 30 or 20 usually watches like traditional TV that much. So, you know, they know they're on the back foot, and I think we'll just start seeing lashing out, trying to claw back some way of relevance. But I don't know, with YouTube themselves, I think they're doing a few things where like a lot of creators are pretty mad, and they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, but there's just no one else at the moment to kind of take up that critical mass of adoption. So I don't know. It's going to be certainly less certain than it has been in the last 10 years. That's for sure.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. And do you personally think traditional media will have no value whatsoever? Like, are you rooting for alternative media, or do you think there should be a mix of both?
I think if traditional media can just pick up its game, because I think it's not competitive in terms of the rate, like the pace of how it's reporting. Because Twitter is like so many like hours ahead of the traditional media with like information right from the source. Like you don't even, if you look at that and you're following the right people, you can really get some good fast information. But I think they just got to pick up their game. So until they do that, I don't think there's much room for them. Unless you want, I was going to say like positions of authority, or like in terms of trustworthy news source, but then sometimes they aren't. Like they have bias as well. So not really much use for them at the moment.
Fair enough. What's your personal goal in the next 5 years?
To grow this into something where it's much bigger than it is at the moment. And I guess I'd be maybe ColdFusion will be known as like just a cool brand of some kind, like to just most people, you know. Right. Don't know how that's going to look like, whether it will be just like having videos everywhere that people recognize, or, you know, if it's something else. But yeah.
Fair enough. And finally, for someone who's a creator who wants to walk your path, what are 3 actionable steps that you can give them? And it can't be something like follow your dreams or something like that, but 3 actionable steps that they can literally, you know, put down their headphone and get into it. Like 3 things that you think will absolutely add value to the steps that they can take.
Okay. Well, you got to, number 1, think of why you're doing this. Like, what is the point? Like, is it to make money, or is it to, help people emotionally or entertain people? And once you figure that out, then it'll kind of set you on the ways to do it. So the second thing would be making sure that you find what you're good at, what you're actually good at. So, if that takes some experimentation and seeing what skills like you possess, and kind of, it's just learning about yourself and learning what you're good at, because everyone has their unique strength in the way that they're put together and the way that they think and function and perform. So you can carve out something that will be unique to everyone else if you can really hone your strength. So I guess for me, like, I didn't know that I was good at this, but like, I guess just like talking, talking scripts and stuff. I guess the way I thought about how a script will be structured and stuff, some people will call that unique, but I didn't know. I had no idea. I just kind of figured it out. So, finding your own unique strength, and this kind of sounds kind of generic, but providing value. Like, you really have to provide value to the end user. You have to think about what they would like. Who's going to be watching this? Like, will this appeal to the people I'm trying to reach? Would I even watch this? Would I be happy with watching this?
What are they getting out of it?
So like, you really do have to think about what they're going to take away. They got to come away from your video being better than they were before.
Right. So. With the second point you mentioned about knowing what you're good at, do you think in your line of work with music or with making videos or doing voiceovers and things like that, is that a skill that can be learned? Are these skills that can be learned, or do you think you innately have certain traits that just make you good at what you do?
I think they can be learned, but I guess for doing voiceovers, I never learned it.
Did you ever take courses and stuff like that afterwards, like to better yourself or anything?
Like I kind of, because in doing music, you got an ear kind of, so you can hear what you need to improve, I guess, and you just kind of do that. But in terms of making music, like I I learned, I guess, over time from just like watching tutorials on how to use Ableton or Fruity Loops at the time, and how to EQ and compress and all that kind of stuff. So some of it can be learned, and I'm sure like if you got a squeaky voice that's crazy, like you can tame it down and learn how to do whatever. So I think like maybe some of it is innate and some of it is you can learn.
Cool. Finally, before you go, can you do your ColdFusion TV intro? And this is just for me. I'm gonna keep it and listen to it on loop forever.
All right. I don't know if I can now, man.
This is exactly why I'm putting you on the spot.
Hi, welcome to another ColdFusion video.
Oh man, that's so good. It's all listening to it. It was a pleasure.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me on.
Likewise. Cheers, man.